I would like to begin today by saying, on behalf of every class, thank you. You make our jobs easier, and you ask for nothing in return. Tactical players are truly the saints of the battlefield. We've got Heavy, the Papa Bear, Sniper, the soccer mom, Bulwark trying to live up to his dad's legacy, Assault and Vanguard, the evil twins, even if the second one has a few birth defects, okay, a lot of birth defects, and Tactical, the prodigal son. Anything you interact with will immediately get better for everyone else. Your armory, in combination with your scan, is able to conform to whatever task is necessary, and it doesn't matter if you're a good or bad player. Everyone can make the tactical work, and I think that's what's so good about it. The name of the game today, just like that one steamy night in Puerto Rico, is going to be flexibility. So let's get into it. As the tactical, you will be like water. Your job is to shift and fill whatever gaps in cohesiveness are left open by your team's composition. While I say Sniper is the ultimate enhancement talent, you are giving them a solid run for their money. This is because, unlike the Sniper, you are much more capable as a standalone unit as well as a support, and your support goes more than just murder everything in the general area for everyone else. It extends to helping them kill everything in the general area, and as a whole, that makes your team better. Although it may come across as the standard class, which in part is true, there's more than meets the eye here. Every class has their niche, and the tactical finds theirs in adaptability. You need cover fire, the tactical can handle it. You need swarm clearance, the tactical can handle it. You need to forge a signature for a prescription medication that your doctor said you can't be on anymore because you're developing a dependency and you need to stop injuring yourself just to get more Vicodin. Wah, fucking wah. Well, the tactical can handle that too because he's got fantastic handwriting. So let's start teaching you how to be Santa's little bastard. First things first, you're going to want a pre-made team for this. Communication is fantastic and I always support it, but we're not actually doing it for that purpose. Tactical is the most popular class by a very large margin, so unless you're in a private lobby, which, at the time of recording don't exist yet, you're rolling the dice with matchmaking into a group that probably already has a tactical. Pretty simple logic here. If you've already got a team, you've got no need for that. Once you sort that out, you can then begin sorting how to benefit your team. The preparation for this class is going to be more work than the gameplay, and this is because once you get into the match as tactical, everything sort of explains itself. It is a very straightforward and intuitive class by design, so let's just focus on preparation for a minute. The way you set up equipment isn't necessarily simple, but it is pretty straightforward. You're going to try everything and do whatever the hell works out. And when I say everything, I mean everything. New weapons, new skills, and you're going to be all over the place because there's a lot of options here. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. You can play tactical for a very long time because of how many weapons there are to unlock and upgrade. But the other side of that sword is that you have to play tactical for a long time with a particular weapon if you want a high level of versatility with him to swap around in order to conform to your team properly, especially if you want them to be sufficient in higher difficulties. Most of the things I say here today are going to feel like I'm painting with pretty broad strokes, and that's actually exactly what I'm doing. This comes down to the fact that the class is so flexible, you can't really nail down specific styles apart from basic mechanics. So that being said, here are some basic mechanics. Your gun's statistics will, for the most part, tell you how it's intended to be played, particularly range. If your gun has good range, keep yourself far from the fight. If it has garbage range, get closer, possibly even frontline in the case of something like a Melta. Once upon a time, I actually thought Bulwark had the highest ability ceiling, but it's probably tactical, and here's why. You can perform as tactical in any operation to a high level. You're basically identifying the weakest aspect of your team's structure and you're pulling it up to par. Every other class is good at strengthening a very specific weakness. Meanwhile, tactical is capable of strengthening any of them that present themselves. Not only do they mask the group's weaknesses, they are also capable of enhancing all of the group's strengths. This is done by way of their Auspex scan. Scan will amplify all damage done to the enemies it marks with outlines. There is a lot of ways you can play this scan, but it should really come down to teammates. Figure out which is your best and cater to them heavily. The reason you focused on your best player is because it's a lot easier to enable the person who can clear the board. They already know how to quickly acquire and eliminate priority targets. Discover what they are particularly slow in killing, and then regularly scan them to speed the matter up. And no, this is not neglecting the other player. With more enemies dead, the strain on them is relieved and they can improve in their own time. I will not hesitate for a moment in saying Tactical is the best class for starters because of how their armory is designed. They have access to everything from Meltas to Marksman Bolters. They're what I call a gateway class. Much like taking bong rips in the back of a Sprinter van, it is a great introduction to the hardcore shit. If you don't know what class to pick, choose this one and then cultivate your mechanical skills and find your preferences. Have you been enjoying the Stalker bolt rifle? Maybe it's time to level up to the Sniper. Been doing a lot with the Plasma? Well, go ahead and step up to the Heavy. Maybe you like the melee combat, but you want a weapon that's not fucking mid. Go ahead and have fun with the Bulwark, or, the Assault. Look, due to a translation error, there's gonna be some people saying that the Assault is bad, but don't worry, that's just an issue with autocorrect. What they really mean to say is that they suck at Assault. You seem like a smart person, I'm sure you can do better. Perk selection here is going to be very dependent on what you're trying to accentuate. I'll frame it this way. There are two popular paths: killing big shit or killing little shit. In addition to that, you can target larger enemies, which I prefer, at the risk of lengthier cooldowns for higher damage output. Or you can target large groups. This can go as far as resetting the scan's cooldown entirely, but you will miss out on some damage enhancement perks. Naturally, if you so choose, there is also the option to pick a little out of both areas. I stand by one of the best perks to have, as scanning enemies by successfully parrying them. It has no cooldown, and it's going to be particularly beneficial in fighting bosses, so long as you aren't a little bitch who's afraid to fistfight them. Speaking of, use the chainsword with fencing. If you don't, you are making a mistake. Objectively speaking. Although I'm pretty sure anyone using block weapons is so used to fucking up they don't know any other way to exist. And I say exist, not live, because you're probably dying all the time if you're using block. Recommended firearms for people who don't know what they're doing is going to be as follows. I don't give a shit what pistol you use, figure that out on your own. Either you want more bullets or more damage, it's not that complicated. Suitable primaries will be the bolt rifle, plasma incinerator, and the melta. Those are your top three. The first one's great for being versatile, the second one is great for bosses, and the third is great for close quarters clearance. Now, you may notice in my last video I talked plenty shit about the Melta, but that was only because I had to express how much of a pathetic little Adeptus jabroni the Vanguard was without it. It will be receiving a slight fix to an overhealing issue it has, but don't panic. As long as you're not a piece of fucking drywall, it's still gonna be fine for close quarters engagements. Those are all the specifics you'll need for this class, everything else is completely up to the user. Freedom of choice is one of, if not the biggest pull towards Tactical. Now, as usual, we're going to try to finish out by giving some advice on how to cooperate with other classes. Assault. If you receive the Assault Team perk for a 50% increase in gun strike damage, you will absolutely skull-fuck Majoris enemies. Combined with your ability to mark enemies on a parry, you are going to transform into a gorilla with a baseball bat. So, Barry Bonds, I guess. You can also one-shot Majoris enemies on Ruthless if an assault splashes in on a scan. Vanguard. As the Tactical, you have access to a Melta. You don't need the Vanguard to weigh you down. Fuck the Vanguard. Carrying on. Bulwark. Bulwark has a pretty interesting tech. When he activates a skill that does damage over time in an area, go ahead and drop a scan capable of hitting all types of enemies on top of him. You will instantaneously turn him into a black hole that annihilates everything around him. Sniper. If you pair with a sniper that has a working brain, which admittedly can be hard to find at times, elites get banished from reality. When you scan an enemy for the sniper to hit, Several eons worth of generational torment will be pounded down range at Mach fuck straight through the eye socket of whatever you just scanned. All of the elites you were fighting are just going to suddenly stop having heads. It's a work of art to watch happen in front of you. Heavy. If you have a heavy on your team and you scan literally any area of densely packed enemies, when you look back at them, they won't fucking exist anymore. I don't really have to explain that one. Well, there you have it, folks. Tactical, the class that epitomizes freedom and flexibility. This is Mr. Space Marine, a character that can choose to be the garnish on the plate or stab your bitch ass in the face with a steak knife. And you know what? Credit where it's due, he's gonna look pretty damn cool doing it. Anyway, that finishes up our series on classes, and I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing next, mostly because I don't really know, but I'm going to pretend like it's a surprise and I have a good plan. So you better get ready, because I got a ton of stuff in store. Thanks for watching as usual, and feel free to flock into the Discord server if you're old enough. We are playing this game in there all the time, and as always, have a good night.